Hello and welcome to the 121st Brian Hornback Experience. I've got another guest. As we've talked about, as I've talked about for, the last few podcasts, the Knox County Republican Party has a reorganization coming up. It's going to be coming up this Saturday. This is actually being recorded on the Wednesday before that. And so we have the other candidate for Knox County Chairman, Mr. Keith Lyon, on. Keith, how are you tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So just to kind of introduce folks, I know kind of your bio, but just to kind of let folks know, you're a Knox County raised guy, right? You're from here. You ain't from. I'm fixing the camera so people just saw my palm of my hand there just now. But anyway, so where did I know you're from Knox County, but what part of Knox County did you grow up in?
Grew up in the Alicebell community, and I still live there to this day.
Oh wow, okay. Alicebell's a good little community. It's I think Alicebell officially is home to Valley View Baptist Church, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So I've visited Valley View a few times when CT Townsend's been there, and they had a good pastor there in Justin Pratt, and Justin moved on up a little bit, but they got another young guy over there now. So I catch their, thanks to COVID, all the churches started live streaming on Facebook, so I can watch a few of them from time to time. But so growing up in Alicebell, you then I guess went to work for KPD shortly after high school, I guess, huh?
Yes, sir. I've got three other family members that are involved in law enforcement.
Okay.
My father was a KPD officer for 30 years. He retired in 2004, and I had two cousins that worked for the sheriff's department.
Okay. And
for a while, there was four of us in law enforcement in Knox County.
Right, and one of those cousins was former chief deputy for the sheriff's department, Keith Lyon, who got killed out on Shad Road, right?
That's right, back in 2006.
Right, and so and then his brother Bernie is, I guess, the chief deputy for Tom Spangler now.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So did you? So you left KPD. I mean, I'm assuming you retired from KPD. You had like almost 30 years experience. I mean, you had almost 30 years there. And then now, you were working at the sheriff's department? Are you still there?
No, I retired from there.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, working the streets and things like that, it catches up to you.
Right.
I've had knee replacement, and I'm also I have hearing aids now, and of course, I tried to work myself back in the way because I always loved doing law enforcement, and just wanted to kind of restart a career over there, but it just didn't work out.
Right. Well, and I mean, I've been in sales for 35 years, and now I've made a career change just since October. But I mean, you can only be on the road and be on concrete floors so long until you decide that maybe I need to try something else, and if that doesn't work out, then for me, I can always go back to grocery sales. But it is what it is. But now, so last summer you had talked about, and I guess you had an exploratory committee. And I assume you still have an exploratory committee for to run for mayor. How's that coming? And I mean, there's nothing that keeps you from being party chairman and county and city mayor. So you still exploring that and thinking about that, because it doesn't look like right now. I know Constance Every is going to run against Mayor Kincannon, but right now I don't guess there's a Republican out there, right?
Not that I've heard of. I know a couple of people are thinking about it, but not at this time. Not that I've heard of anything officially.
Right. So January 3rd of 2023, right after the new year, you announced for chairman. Kind of talk about what made you decide at some point over the Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, or New Year's. Kind of what led you to decide that leading the Knox County Republican Party was something you wanted to pursue?
Of course, given our system of government, it's run by a two-party system.
Right.
And the Democrat Party doesn't represent my values. To sum up my political views, freedom breeds prosperity. And you can only find that in the Republican Party. What I want to do, and of course part of this is seeing the bad effects of Democrat policies inside the city, is help other Republican candidates get into office and turn back that blue tide that's in the city. And I just want to be able to further the Republican Party and help them win elections. There's no reason why Knox County and Knoxville can't be a purely red county all the way across the board.
Right. Well, and I totally skipped over the fact that you were FOP chairman from, I think, 2018 to 2021, and so you've got some experience running an organization, and because just because you're a police officer, you don't. I guess you have to sign up to the FOP. It's not just because you're a police officer, you're not necessarily an FOP member. But kind of talk about that, and then the experience that the FOP being involved in particularly city elections. Kind of what how did that help make your decision to run for chairman?
On the political side, the FOP does endorse candidates. Over the years in its history, it's gone back and forth from Democrats or Republican. Of course, lately it's been Republican, especially after the defund the police movement got a hold of the Democrat Party. The organization is always going to back candidates that's going to look after their interests. Anywhere from paying benefits and also just the policy in general. The endorsement process is basically they come in for interviews, and then the lodge itself, every member in the lodge elects to endorse or not to endorse a certain particular candidate. Right,
because I know, I guess in the last city elections, y'all endorsed, I think four of the five that were running on the Republican slate, and I'm sure there was a reason that y'all didn't endorse the incumbent in that race. I'm sure there was a reason why the lodge decided not to endorse that fifth candidate. But that's not a decision that the FOP chairman himself makes. I'm sure you have a vote, but you're saying that the entire lodge makes the decision on who the endorsements are.
Correct. They have on the election day, the lodge is open practically all day for them to come in before the regular meeting and vote. And it's a lodge decision. It's not the board's decision or even the president's.
Right. So, I do agree with you that I think that particularly from the years I've been involved in the first Republican convention, the first reorg I ever went to was back in 1982. And I think that one was actually in the main assembly room of the city county building. And the place was packed. Only because of the tax sale that happened back in January, I found out that room seats 600 people. But back in 82, we had about 600 people show up in the main assembly room. Obviously, we've had reorganizations every 2 years since 1982. And then, of course, myself, having been chairman from 2005 to 2007, obviously, a lot of things have contributed to kind of the lack of grassroots. And, just comparing, I looked yesterday, the Facebook page for the Knox County Republican Party's got 703, as of yesterday, 703 people who've liked that page. The Democrats have 6,200. On the Instagram page, the Knox County TN Republicans has like 382 people, and the Democrats have 1,300. So how can Keith Lyon, as the party chairman, how can you grow that grassroots movement? I'm willing, Daniel Herrera's done a good job. I mean, obviously, I'm on the county executive committee. He's raised some money. He's brought some good profile folks. And so the next step is that we need to grow the grassroots. And so that means, when we have a hot dog something, then, we get a bunch of people there. And so what's your thoughts for how we can do that?
I like what you said about the hot dog stuff, because I'm all for social events, and that's a great way to start getting people out and getting to know them, and also use those opportunities to make sure people register to vote. On the social media side, of course, naturally, you have to overcome the bias that's occurring in social media towards the Republican Party. There's other apps out there that can do that, that we can also make use of too. And also, too, grassroots organization, it's best to, especially because the goal to win elections is to organize at the county district level and where people are at, because that's where the elections are won in each district. And we can get people together, and we need to do it year-round instead of just at election time, because if you wait till election times, you're already 50 yards behind the Democrats because they're working all year. And we just need to become a full-time party in that end instead of just part of the time party. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we've got, what do we got? We got about 13 Republican clubs spread around the county. And I think we got at least 2 women's clubs. We got a young Republican club. We got a college Republican. Sometimes, based on what's going on at UT, college Republicans may have more or less. The young Republicans sometimes have more or less. But we got at least 2 women's groups. We got about another 10 clubs out there. How do you see? And I know that, like, the South Knox Republican Club quit meeting for about a year or so, but I think, from what I understand, they've now merged with what used to be the 8th District Club. Now they're the Three Rivers Republican Club, and they're meeting over there near the quarry at Thorn Grove Pike. I mean, how do you see engaging with those clubs? Because a lot of those clubs, I've been president of one for a number of years. A lot of those clubs, because they're not necessarily, the Knox County Republican Party is a part of the Tennessee Republican Party. So Tennessee Republican Party is the tire, and the Knox County Republican Party is one of 95 spokes in the wheel that is the Tennessee Republican Party. So do you envision, being chairman, a way to get those clubs to become spokes in the wheel, so to speak? And I've come up with this just off the top of my head. But anyway, or do you envision doing something totally different and just letting the clubs continue to exist? Because the club that I've been president of, we can't meet in November and December because we meet on the 4th Thursday of every month, and that happens to be Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's why we don't meet in November and December. But so we're meeting 10 months out of the year. But do you envision taking those clubs and trying to get them plugged in to the wheel, or maybe just re-envisioning to where we go from 13 to 20 clubs? I mean, is there an oversaturation of clubs, I guess I'll say?
I wouldn't say so, but I think there's got to be a way to bring them together and network them. And, of course, the communication technology that's out today, we can do that. We can keep communication up even with just simple email, if not through messaging sites through social media. I don't ever want to say I want to contract clubs, because most people aren't working an 8 to 5 schedule anymore, and people need some place to go. And if they can't go on this night, well, maybe this club over here can go. And of course, naturally, everybody, of course, most people fall in line with that Republican Party, but then they also have these single issues that they're most passionate about. Like, say, for instance, the Tennessee Firearms Association. and that's basically what they meet on. And I think the best way for the Republican Party is just to use these clubs to their benefit and help, especially organize with the districts and stuff like that. Not every club's going to be able to do the same amount of work. Say, for instance, if you've got a certain club that's mostly senior citizens, sure, they may be able to volunteer to work the polls, while the younger ones may be able to go do door knocking, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, and
it's just a matter of bringing people together.
Yeah, and we don't. Oh, you're good. And we don't currently have a Tennessee Republican, a Tennessee Federated Republican Women Club. Our volunteer Republican women, which used to meet do meet for lunch, they started out as a federated club, but they decided that they wanted to be more of a lunch, social type thing. And then we had another women's club that meets in the evenings. That they started that way, but then they've decided to go a different direction. But just taking that federated club, for instance, nationally, they've made nearly over 7 million phone calls. So I think there's ways that we can utilize young people and utilize seniors to help. Maybe we're not, obviously we can call, but there's also ways to utilize texting and those other things. So, I think that's a good avenue for whoever the next chairman happens to be to utilize those clubs. I know that the club that I've been president of for some time, we don't have a large treasury, say, like the Halls Republican Club. Halls Republican Club can donate, well, because one, that club's set up as a PAC. So they're able to actually write checks to Republican candidates. And after the primary, they normally contribute to every Republican candidate. Whereas my club, the Center City Conservatives Republican Club, we will contribute to candidates that are, well, for instance, we contributed some money to Kim Smith that ran for city council because Kim had been involved in our club, because Kim had been an officer in our club. And so, these clubs, many of them have money. West Knox has quite a bit of money. So there are ways that they can help monetarily, but I think there's ways that the clubs aren't being utilized that a chairman, if he approached those clubs, could get them moving in that direction. So that's my thought, for whatever it's worth.
Right, and that's what I was trying to say. Each club has a different strength that ought to be utilized by the party to further their candidates.
Right. Well, so the convention is Saturday. I guess you're ready for all the traveling all over the county to be over. I'm assuming that you've been a precinct member at the Alice Bell precinct, and you've attended conventions in the past, have you?
No. Of course, while being a police officer, as my schedule then, and
right.
Also for a long stretch, I had to work a straight shift in the evenings.
Oh yeah.
Because my youngest son has cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and child care was a big issue back then. And most of my nights in the evenings were pretty well tied up.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Well, and I've been there too. We've got my wife and I next month will be married 35 years, and we've raised 3. But go ahead. But before we get off here, go ahead. I didn't even acknowledge your family situation, so go ahead and talk about how long you and your wife have been married, and just mention how many kids you have and what their ages are.
My wife's name is Amy, and we've been married since 1995.
Cool.
And we have 2 boys. One, my oldest son is Alex Lyon. He's 25, and hopefully he's going to finish his final year at UT. He got set back due to a work injury.
Sure.
But and my youngest son Jake. In fact, a lot of people know our family just by him. He's he's 22 now. He was born with cerebral palsy and epilepsy.
Okay.
And if you got a minute, I'd like to tell you a story about him.
Sure.
You know, he's proof that miracles happen.
Right.
His first year of life, he had seizure after seizure after seizure, and medicine didn't work. And then, he had major brain surgery at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. And, of course, the goal of surgery is only to reduce the seizures by 50%. But he had one when he was 3. And they think he had one in 2021, but judging by what everybody's saying, I think he just passed out due to the heat. And speech therapy was no good. He'd went from speech therapy from age 3 to age 7. And when I say miracles, here's what happened. He learned to speak by mimicking the pastor in church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just proved God works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, good luck to you. No matter who the chairman is, based on the fact that a majority of the Republicans in State Senate District 6 voted back in August. I'm on the county executive committee, so I get to work with whichever one of y'all is either fortunate or unfortunate to become the next chairman. So, the good news is, we've got to continue. We got to continue keeping the Tennessee Republican Party and the Knox County Republican Party moving in the same direction, and we can't deviate from that because next year we've got obviously this year we've got the city council and mayor's race, but then as soon as that's over, we're going to be by the time we get to November with the city general election, we're going to be knee deep in presidential politics because we got Super Tuesday coming up, and I haven't even looked up to see if the date's been set yet, but it's always in February or March. And since 2016, funny story, and then I'll let you go. Funny story is that I always kind of pick my presidential candidates about a year out. And those of you that are listening or watching the Brian Hornback Experience, episode 122, don't ask me right now because I don't know. But normally, by about this time, I figured out what candidate on the national stage I want to support. Only until 2016 had the guy that I picked a year or so in advance, before they even announced they were going to run for president, he actually made it to the Tennessee Super Primary, the Super Tuesday primary. Now, it was Marco Rubio, the Florida senator, and he visited here on, I think I'm right about this because I believe Super Tuesday in 16 was on March the 1st. So he actually was here on leap year, which was February 29th. But anyway, he was at the airport, huge crowd. When I did get a chance to talk to him and get my picture made with him, I told him, I've been doing this since I was 16 years old in 1982. You're the first guy that I ever picked early that made it to Tennessee. So I'm fully convinced that we're going to have a crowded field next year. And I'm fully convinced that all the candidates that are going to make it in the top 3 or 4 are going to make it to Tennessee. Now, Nikki Haley's already announced. We suspect that the Florida governor is going to announce. We suspect the former president's going to announce. We suspect Pompeo's going to announce. We suspect the former vice president's going to announce. But until those announcements are in there, then we don't know. And to be honest, things were crazy last year with the county elections and the state elections. And then we got this year's a little bit off because I don't live in the city. So, I just cover it as a blogger and a podcaster. But we'll see how everything shakes out next year. But next year, countywide, we got property assessor, we got law director, we got about 7, I think, county commission races, and we'll have about 4 county school board races, I think. I think that's all there are. But anyway, that gives us a good idea what next year's going to be like. So if you're chairman, then you'll have a lot of work to do in preparation for next year and next year. So, Keith, I appreciate you being on here. Go ahead and give a final ask all the delegates to get out on Saturday and vote for you, and then I'll let you go, brother. So go ahead and have the last word.
Come on out to the Republican convention on February 18th, and as a candidate for Republican chairman, I do ask for your vote. Thanks for having me.
All right, sounds great, Keith. We'll talk to you Saturday.
All right, have a good day.
You too, bud. Bye.